there's still people coming across our southern border, which has some folks very, very concerned. And Jim Gilchrist is among them. Jim is the founder and president of the Minutemen Project. You may remember them from a few years back when they were so prominent down on the southern border. And MinutemenProject.com is the website, of course. They have not been so much in the public view recently, but Jim, welcome back to the program.
Thom Hartmann, thank you for having me on your program. You're one of my favorite hosts, by the way.
Well, thank you.
And also, I have to say, I agree with that commentary that you broadcast about unemployment benefits. They really should be extended for exactly the same reasons you identified in that broadcast. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. And that actually speaks to one of my concerns. First of all, you guys are thinking about going back down to the border. Tell us about that.
Yes, actually, we're already down at the border. There are some independent groups that I'm referring volunteers to who have been on the border. They never left the border in the last 10 years. Minuteman Project's presence was ended in July 2010, about a year after a Border Patrol agent, Robert Rosas, was murdered 50 yards in front of one of our outposts. After our outpost had called Border Patrol for assistance when 4 illegal aliens had literally climbed over the fence there, not the new fence, the old dilapidated fence. Border Patrol agent Rosas responded, and the 4 individuals jumped him, took his weapon, and shot him 8 times. So it was becoming too dangerous all along the border. I didn't want to have the liability of having people going down there and getting killed or shot or hurt.
But now that it's just little kids, you'll show up?
I'm sorry?
But now that it's just little kids, you'll show up? That doesn't sound very good.
No, this is more. Again, it's a freedom of speech issue that I monopolize on. I think if Americans are concerned about the out of control, chaotic immigration dilemma that we've been facing for decades, we should get out and demonstrate, bring our grievances forward in the public square. And one of the most profound ways to do that is to actually go to the border. Of course, that would include militias going down there, and they, I think, have a bad reputation, which is a myth. Their bad reputation. I've never met anybody in the militias who has presented himself or herself as a gunslinger. They seem to be reasonably well disciplined. Now there could be exceptions, but
of course you're not a brown-skinned illegal immigrant.
Rifles or their weapons at anybody across the border or shot anybody. However, the opposite has happened.
Jim, here's where it seems to me like you guys have been scammed, and you pointed out we should be paying long-term unemployment benefits. There are real problems in this country right now. We have a trade policy which is, both libertarians and liberals agree is insane. From the Washington administration to the Reagan administration, we protected domestic manufacturers. We stopped doing it in the 80s somewhat. It went on steroids with Clinton and with NAFTA and GATT in the 90s. And now all the jobs are gone. When Reagan came into office, the largest employer in the United States was General Motors, and they paid over $50 an hour plus pension plus health care benefits in today's dollars. Today, the largest employer in the United States is Walmart, and they pay on average around $8 an hour and no benefits, or the benefits are pretty useless. This is the direct consequence of trade policies. And you can trace some immigration policy to that, in as much as a couple of industries that before Reagan, most notably and most famously probably, construction and meat packing were, great places for unionized Americans to work in what today's dollars would be $40, $50, $60 an hour work environments, with full benefits. And now they're $10 an hour jobs that are filled largely with people who are here without documentation. But doesn't that mean that instead of standing at the border, you should be standing with your guns in front of the corporate headquarters of the meatpacking companies and the big builders? Isn't this an employer problem, not an immigrant problem? If the employers, went to jail like they did before Reagan, Reagan stopped this in '86. He stopped sending employers to jail. And that's when the problem began, this problem that you're concerned about, competition. If you want to deal with that, go after the rich white guys, not the poor brown people.
Tom, you're right. You're right. We haven't had a president, a national leader, who took our immigration policy and laws seriously since Dwight Eisenhower.
Well, since Jerry Ford. Jerry Ford was enforcing the law.
As far as going against the corporations, we'll get more attention and bring more national awareness by going to the border rather than going to a corporate enterprise and protesting. And you wouldn't need guns there. People wouldn't bring guns to something like that. It would be a public protest in downtown Chicago or downtown Atlanta.
But they're all over the country, and your people are all over the country. And you know, if you were to have a day of rage where you know, companies that openly hire people who are not citizens were surrounded by hundreds of people in dozens of cities around the country, I think that you would discover that you would no longer just be preaching to a largely older white Fox News watching crowd. You'd have you know, a lot of people with you. The other thing that concerns me is that the number of migrants crossing the border, people, you know, crossing the border illegally, who have been captured, who were captured in 2009, 2010, and 2011. Every year it was below 330,000. It hasn't been that low since 1968. In other words, illegal immigration into the United States is lower than it has been in 40 years, 50 years. And you know, I mean, the peak was 1.6 million people in 1984. This was, you know, just before Reagan's amnesty. And then it peaked again at 1.6 million in 1 year in 1999-2000, you know, as the economic boom was going and these illegal employers were hiring people like there was no tomorrow. But then since the economic crash, you know, people just aren't coming here anymore. There's no work.
I disagree. And Tom, the biggest problem is that no one is keeping a tally. You're throwing figures at me, and then I will throw figures back at you.
I'm quoting figures from ICE, from the government. This is actual captures. And the number of agents in 2001, when they captured over 1.6 million people, in 2001 they had 9,100 border agents down there. Right now they have 18,611 border agents down. These are statistics from the Department, you know, from Homeland Security.
So by doubling the Border Patrol agents, we have successfully reduced the numbers of illegal.
I don't think it's no, because this is you know, arrests. I don't think it's changed that at all. I think the economy has changed it. But anyway, Jim, we're out of time. I get it. Your intentions are good. You know, keep us up to date on how it's going. Okay.
All right, Tom. Take care. Thanks for the opportunity to be on your program.
Sure. Good talking with you. Jim McGilchrist, he's the founder and president of the Minuteman Project, MinutemanProject.com. We'll be back.